Hi, thank you for joining me today. This time I'm going to decorate a two-tier wedding cake with a beach theme. This cake is a very right choice for anybody who produces or who receives this cake, looking for something simple with an elegant statement. I'm going to use few basic elements to achieve that result. I'm going to make a special texture on this cake. That cake is actually completely finished, coated with the rolling fondant, but because we like to bring this sandy look element to the cake, I like to give an extra texture on this cake with additional royal icing. I'm going to color this royal icing with a little bit touch of instant coffee. The coffee gives a perfect ivory tone to white icing. You can also try to mix some brown and yellow color mixture, but coffee really a perfect, like not too orangish, not too brownish. It gives a perfect ivory tone to my opinion. Then I'm going to do some little seashells, starfishes. If I do this starfish, I'm going to use a very simple tool like this pen, and there's nothing inside, there's no inside part. So I'm going to use this little part here to give some textures to the starfish, and I'm going to mold these starfishes by hand without any mold, without any cutter. Then I'm going to do some seashells, which is look like that. Then I'm going to talk to you about a couple of different methods. Then we can also do without anything to achieve the seashell, or we can use also silicone molds. We talk about this later. Then I'm going to use some Jenner's way of sugar corals, which the recipe you can find in the recipe section. Then I'm going to use some of these almond dressures for like beach stone pebbles. Then everything going to be very quickly finished. And one more thing, I'm going to use also raffia instead of normal satin ribbon, because just the satin ribbon is not going to match to that particular rough texture, which is going to give some unwanted sort of like a position that the ribbons is not going to sit properly on the edge of the cake. So raffia will be a good finishing touch to that point. First, I like to produce my dye, which is the instant coffee. I put a little bit of, just a few drops of water here. It melts very quickly, but you have to make sure that really melts, because if there's a small little pieces goes in the icing, the moisture is not good enough to melt that coffee, so it has to be melted now. It has to be really, really make sure that melts everything. It melts very quickly, so you can just actually check behind the spoon here. Alright, let's rest this for a while. Then I'll take not too much, just a few spoons of royal icing, because I'm going to make very, very thin coating. Just this much should be more than enough. I always put a little bit of vinegar in the royal icing, because vinegar makes it, especially rested royal icing, it loses the creaminess a little bit. So when I mix it just a few turns like this, it becomes creamy again because of this little bit of vinegar. So I just put just a few drops of this. Don't put too much at the beginning, because you can always put a little bit more later on. Instead of putting too much at the beginning, you cannot go back. See, the coffee really gives a good stain for the ivory tone. There's another product called baker's caramel. So the baker's putting inside the brown bread to make the bread a little bit more brownish, a bit more brownish. So I also use this one sometimes, but coffee is really good. It gives a really sweet, nice, elegant ivory tone. Go a little bit more. One last time. That's it. I'm quite happy with this one. So I place my cake on a turntable because masking is always need to turn the cake around, so turntable will help you to make it quite easier. So I just go like that, very, very thin. And don't worry about how it is going to be done because we're going to smoothen up again by hand later on. Very quick. Let me just tell you about how to hold a palette knife. See, there's a handle in palette knife. If you hold it like this, it's very uncomfortable because you cannot control, like driving a car without any control. So if I hold it like this in the middle and I put my finger here, so and make this motion left and right. So if I drive like this, I do it like that. If I drive like this, I do it like that. So it's always scraping, always in the right position. It's happening very quickly, but you see that I'm always doing this, like this, like this, like this, like this, but very quickly. What I try to do, I never want to have the icing on top of the palette knife, always underneath. It gives a nice, and I mean at the moment it's not really important because I'm not really masking cake in there to achieve a very nice texture. I'm just gonna have it like a very rough texture, so that's why I'm not really careful with that. But basically, in principle, don't get the icing on top here. Almost there. That's it. Put this on the side. Don't need any more. What I'm going to do, I'm going to spray a little bit of water on top. Just a little bit of water. Because I start from here. I finish there. This may be a little bit dry in the meantime. Just slightly water. And go for it with the hand. Everywhere. Try to even up this icing everywhere around the cake. If you like to have a small texture, just a very fine rough, but very fine rough texture, you have to put a little bit less than that. So I don't mind now have a little bit more the mountains and rivers on it, a bit more higher and lower. Okay, once I'm sure that everywhere the icing is evenly distributed, then I do this motion. Just go by hand like that. See, in no time that you have an even texture on the cake everywhere the same. This really matched to the concept, that beach theme concept. That's it. I'm done. So we go to the next step now. I'm going to start now all the parts. I'm going to start with something that I need to rest it on table a lot longer than the other pieces. So I need to have the dryness at the end when I'm assembling the cake. That's why I do this piece first. This will be then the branches, or you can call this tweak or something like extension towards the decorations or whatever. So I just take my little bit of pastellage. Not much, just a little bit, like maybe a table tennis ball size. And this pastellage already I reconditioned in the microwave just now, just a few seconds in the microwave. Do that sausage shape and roll this, but make sure that this part is thinner than this. This is around sort of like a, it can be 1 cm, 8 millimeters, but this one should be like, goes all the way to 0. Alright, then what I do, I just take a knife, I don't need this, starting from the thicker cut, and then go thinner and thinner, at the end up in 0. So I just do like 3 of them, 3 or 4 of them, different sizes, should be enough. I do this one very often, many of my cakes, and it's very useful. So I take this one like this. You see that it's like a very thick to thin, very nicely, and just give a little bit of like touch around here, and think about somebody you don't like it, and then do this, you know, like just squeeze it like this, and then just put it over here. But when you're squeezing, make sure that you're not really damaging, you're not really breaking up. See, if you realize it, that what I do is I'm opening my fingers. I'm not squeezing like this. I'm just doing like this. I give a little bit of like space in between, and squeeze it like this. It creates that abstract look to the branch. That's it. I'm ready with this one. It's going to stay for a while till I finish all the other parts. It's going to be dry enough to put it on the cake at the end. Let's talk about seashells now. Seashells is very often used in cake decorating because the beach theme or ocean theme or this kind of like subjects are very often used. And then when you think about this kind of thing, first thing comes in your mind, of course, the seashells. And of course, there is variety of methods to do that. First of all, you can just buy a silicone mold like this. Just cut, just roll your gum paste or pastillage, cut and roll a round piece, place it inside, push this in, take it out, your seashell is ready. But I'm not going to be too much to worry about now, because I'm not going to make a tutorial how to push pastillage into the silicone mold and make a seashell. So the next thing that I like to tell you, I find years ago 2 pieces of this Tupperware lids. So this is exactly the same thing. And then I thought that if I put this together like this, as you see that from the camera like that, here, it just pushes like, give me exactly the right texture around here. So sometimes you come across this kind of things and you think about it, you can use it. It should be a plastic. It should be like clean item that you can use it for the food. And I'm using this one already here, so I'm going to show you again how I do that. But of course, this is also not the point here, because you may not have the same thing. I like to show you how to make a mold out of the pastillage without relying to purchase something or ask someone to give you some mold or cutter or whatsoever. Okay, what I do, I have only a little cutter here, probably about 50 mil, all right, 50 or 55 mil. So what I do, I take a pastillage. It's always good to have an idea what to do if you don't have any sources of molds or cutters or something like that, and to produce something that on your own, and you can still achieve the result. So pastillage, knead a little bit like this, and make it quite flat like that. Flat to the shape, a little bit bigger than that, this mold. All right, and then carefully this is a plastic piece. It's actually used in the corners of the wall sheets when they join together in constructions. They put this on the corner to cover that edge. So it's another plastic piece that I'm using for a tool, that modeling tool, that very often. So put one line in the middle like this, and then another line like that. a line like that. So just bring the lines into one spot like that. I'm actually producing a pusher, a mold that I can use to produce my seashells later on when it's dry. So I just push this one down. You don't have to do that, but just gives a better texture here. And you just cut it down like that. All right. So I need to have, just like this, I need to have second piece to put on top. If I take this one now like this, put my cutter on top, and I put another parsley on top, what I do, I will destroy that shape because it's still soft. So that's why I have to give some time to that, let it dry. It's better to wait till tomorrow, give it overnight, but I just did this piece a couple of hours ago. It's hard enough to get the other piece done. So what I do, I put my cutter inside here like this, and then get another soft pastillage. Give a good knead. I need to have a bit of starch, so I just put a little bit of starch here on top of this piece and push this in. So I'm pushing my pastillage on top of the dry one. So my mold is finished. So what I can do now, after this one dry, I cut the pastillage or gum paste, whatsoever, roll it very thin, cut round pieces, put them here, and then push this one together, just like you do with silicone mold. You get your own mold, your own seashell to glue together. So I'm not going to use this one now because this is not hard enough. So I'm going to use this one to show you how to do it. Just think about you using this, same thing. And I also have some pre-dry one before. I'm going to use them for this cake today. I will do a few seashells now with my Tupperware lids. Pastillage. Okay, just like this. It's about maybe just a millimeter thickness. So I take my 50mm cutter and then cut few pieces of that. Let me just make 4. And actually what I do, make it 6, then I can show you 2 pieces for this one. This one out. At this stage, what I do is I put them on top of each other. So if I do that, the pastillage pieces doesn't get dry quickly. So I can work one by one. Just put them like this, and then grab one by one. Here, put it here, just on the edge. Put this on top. Just push slightly on the edge. Take it out. Look at this. My perfect seashell with Tupperware lid. And I have this little plastic holder here. Put it in there. I'm sure you will find something similar in your environment. Here, like this. Push it a bit. Done. One more. Okay. What I do now, I'm going to use my homemade mold, which is, it's dry a little bit now. I just did about 3 minutes ago. Look at that, it just fits nicely. So what I do, put it here like this. Make sure that you're putting in the right spot, like that. Like this. Push it in. Still soft. And place it here. It will still do the job. Okay? One more time. Okay. Now, I have these pieces here. I've done it before, so they're not that soft. So how I do that, I just take, clean this one up a little bit. Normally, what I can do, I can take just a bit of royal icing and glue them together and place it here. But if I do that, I have to wait till tomorrow, just till this dries. So I'm going to use a little bit of white chocolate now here, just to glue it, because I'm going to continue with my cake right away now. Both sides touch a little bit and place it here. And when it dries, I'm going to seal it with the royal icing so you don't see the chocolate anymore. So I'm going to continue with everything together, finish them all 6 off. I'm going to show you now how to make a starfish without any mold, without any cutter, just using a pen without inside part. I'm going to use this little hole to make the starfish, the textures on it. So I have here a conditioned pastillage, which is just warmed up in the microwave for a few seconds. Using a little bit of olive oil spray on the table so that things doesn't stick on the table. I give a good knead to pastillage and do this and portion them into reasonable sizes like this. A little bit of oil spray in the hand. Turn to a ball shape, then flatten a little bit and give 5 edges just roughly to create the star. Then after that, each section you pull it out by just pinching in different directions. See, pastillage is good material to do that because it's standing, it doesn't really sagging down. Okay, then what I do, I place this on the base here and give some indentations with this pen tip from center out.
And then I just give a little bit of movement like this. Don't make it like, because starfish is a live creature, so it has got slightly, gives it a bit of movement in here. Right, continue with all the 5. If you ask me the question, can I cut this pastilles first with the star cutter? Yes, you can. But I assume that now we don't have any cutters. So I'm going to show you without relying something else than your hands. Make sure that the tips are really sharp. That makes it interesting. There's another way of doing these corners properly. If you can take something like this, it's like a square plastic piece. You can also take a piece of cardboard and fold it into corner like that, and pushing like this. This also gives a nice edge. Okay, my starfish are almost ready. It has to rest for a while to get a little bit dry. I can lift up like this now. It's no problem because pastillas gives you that possibility. But just wait for another 10 minutes before you put on the cake.
Now I'm going to remove the plastic lining, which protects the velvet coated wooden board underneath. So now, because we're not going to work messy anymore, I can remove this one, because later on it could be a little bit difficult to pull all underneath the decorations. So I just, especially when we're doing this lining, we don't stick anything underneath the board. So I can just remove the edge first without any problem.
and cut just a little slit here and start tearing off. It will only tear from the point where the cake is the end of the cake. It will just tear from this point, so you will not even see it. I placed the cake on the turntable. From now on it's going to stay on the turntable because I need to turn the cake very often different directions. So I have here raffias, which is natural raffia. I just select about 4 or 5 pieces for each tier, and just make sure that all is long enough. So I just simply folding like this, go around. The cake is almost dry. It's already good enough to give a one knot like that, and then place your finger here, give a second knot, doesn't have to be too tight, but once we make the second knot we can actually pull quite strong because it's not going to pressurize the cake anymore. Do it like this, so it just goes left and right. That's already good enough. Do the same thing with the top level. So this is also about 5 pieces. This time I have to make sure it's the knot in the same location. That's it. So on the second knot you can pull it because it's not going to pressurize the cake anymore. So I will just chop first a little bit. I'm going to chop later on again on the right place. So then we don't have to have these long pieces around. After decoration finish, I maybe just chop a little bit more to make it right. From now on, we're going to add all the decorations on. Everything what I need to decorate this beach theme wedding cake, it's there. So I have my 2-tier cake, which is the 20 cm and 25 cm. Both tiers are 75mm height. And I have my couple of seashells here, and some of them I didn't stick it because I like to use it maybe a flat, not really opening up like this. I have here our special microwave sugar corals, which is actually nothing else than a piece of pastelage with addition of some icing sugar. Please look at this recipe section to find out how to do this. And I have my spikes, or whatever you call, like twig or branches. I will only use one of them, but I prefer to produce a couple of them because they are naturally producing different direction, different shapes. I like to select the best one to fit it on top. Then I have 5 pieces of starfish. It may be just 4 or 6, doesn't matter. And I have my almond sugar dragées to use it as beach pebbles. And I have also a little bit of white royal icing to glue everything. I would also suggest that if you have to use this cake when you're doing it quickly, you may also use some white chocolate to glue pieces more to have the more security. So first thing what I do, I will put some of these microwave coral pieces on top. But I like to turn this cake now to myself, then I can see the composition is right. So royal icing. I like to go generously because there's nothing to harm to that. So I like to turn it like this because it will be more drastic looking here. Then I have my second piece on top. I like to position this such a way that I get a bit of height. Just like this. Alright, now I like to put a medium size little coral on each level, but not exactly on the same direction. Maybe a little bit left, a little bit right. So I'm just going to put one here. Maybe one here. something smaller than that. So I like to create like, it's not coming everything in one line. Gonna create like one in the middle, a little bit left, a little bit right, so to create a little bit more natural looking. And the next thing is I like to put one of this branch on top, just resting here. I like to have this extension to get the really finishing spiky bit. I know it's touching here, just put it there, a little bit of here, and resting on it. It's done. Okay. Now, the question is, where do I put things? Now, I have my seashell. As you see inside, a little bit, you can see the white chocolate. So I just put my real icing inside here and close it up. You don't see it anymore. And I like to use some real icing here behind to glue it. So I think this is the best spot to start with. Second one. I try to use different positions. And of course this one here, one there, I will put one here. I have this quite open one, but will match the bottom level. That's it. Now, I like to put some additional ones, but I like to place first the starfish, then the next shell if I need it. So I like to select the best starfish for the top, which is this one. Generously here, and resting here, I see a little bit of profile from the front. That's it. Then I like to put one here, the edge. Then the next one probably in this direction, but maybe here, just right underneath. Nothing wrong if you use the one of the spike to pocket in, like that. The one here. Then I have to put one more here in the front. That's it. So if I turn it around so you can look at it from the front camera, it's already a flow there, but it's not 100% completed. See that there's some part here that's not really, a bit empty, something missing there. And also I have a chance now to put a little bit more. So I have here another shell. I can extend the bottom part a little bit more here. Maybe this way. It doesn't seem inside, so I don't put anything inside. Put it there. And I have also a couple of shells which is not open, so I can place a little bit there. Maybe one on this side. Yeah, I think there's nothing necessary to put more load on it. So I will put a couple of more pebbled stones, which is the almond dragées, and finish it off nicely. One here. Location is quite important. One here. One on the floor here. So as you realize that I'm not just chuck everything on it, so I have to still use a little bit of like a thinking and composition, you know, just composing that arrangement according to the filling. Right? I'll put one of the dragées inside the shell. It looks like a pearl. There's one more here possible to put in. All right. What else? So I think I can put one more here. one more at the bottom here. As far as I'm concerned, I think the composition is finished. I don't have to load more things on it. So I turn around so you can see better from the front camera. This is the way how we do it as a simple beach theme wedding cake. I hope you like it. Now is your turn. Don't forget to share your pictures and comments or questions if you have with us. Thank you for the time you spent with Yener's Way today. I look forward to have you joining us again on the next tutorial.